Hi guys, welcome back to Vedic Astrology. Today I'm presenting to you the 2026 annual predictions and forecast for the sign of Sagittarius. And you can watch this video both from a Sagittarius rising ascendant standpoint as well as from a Sagittarius moon perspective. Now, this is going to be an year that brings a lot of opportunities for you to lay down the foundation for your future, as well as the year as it progresses is going to bring sudden financial transformation as well in your life. Well, why do I say that? This year is going to be an year where Sagittarius, you have Saturn placed in your fourth house, Kantak Shani. And that means it is going to bring a structural test towards your peace of mind, towards your mental sanity, your emotions, your learning, your knowledge. It is going to test the health of your mother as well. It is going to be a period where you are going to reflect upon your inner happiness and understand where lies your true motivation. Then you will notice that the squeeze is felt in your heart, in your mind, in your soul because of Saturn's presence into the fourth house itself. So there could be some pressure that builds up on your home, on your property, on your assets as well. But as the year progresses, your lung lord Jupiter is going to move towards exaltation as well in this year. And yes, that exaltation is happening in the eighth house, but it brings that Vipreet Raj Yoga of the loving Lord getting exalted in the eighth, which means this is going to be an year which is going to bring some degree of transformation, positive transformation in your life, as well as sudden gains, some sort of positive news which is going to disrupt and transform, sort of a financial rescue, if I may, in your life as well. By the end of the year, your Lagna Lord, your Rashi Lord Jupiter will be moving towards the ninth house. And that means this is going to be an year where you will find a relief, an alignment of your moral values, your principle, your luck, destiny, fortune falling in place in the right direction. Bhagyodaya, as they say, is going to come into picture where you will find a final redemption. And then, of course, the most important transit of Rahu and Ketu will also be coming into picture. Through the course of this video, I have divided the discussions into four more most important areas. Quarter one, which is Jan, Feb, and March, where we will understand what are the transits going to do, and you can accordingly analyze the key takeaways from that perspective. Quarter second for April, May, and June. Third quarter for July, August, and September, and then the last quarter of October, November, and December. And for each of these quarters, we are going to dive into the specifics that come into picture in terms of key shifts. So, without further ado, folks, let's deep dive into this reading and understand what should be the plan that you must follow for the year 2026. So, Sagittarius, as you guys can see on your screen here, what I've done is I've represented the four key planets which are going to bringing in a shift through the course of this year. First and foremost, you see Saturn has been placed in your fourth house in the sign of Pisces. Now, there is no intermittent transit happening for Saturn through the course of this year, but he will become retrograde. Then you have Rahu in the sign of Aquarius in your third house, who will at the fag end of the year move into your second house, whilst Ketu is in your ninth and will be moving into your eighth. Jupiter has been depicted here moving in from your seventh towards your eighth, then towards your ninth house in the later part of the year. Well, the first quarter of 2026 is going to be the financial power play coming into play. What happens here is that at the beginning of the year itself, you find Sun is going to be transiting into your second house in the sign of Capricorn around 14th of January. Now, Sun happens to be the lord of your ninth house, and he's been stationed in the Lagna in the first house itself in the beginning of the year. So, somewhere or the other, the new year start is going to look positive for you because you are going to have fabulous support of your luck, fortune, destiny coming into play. Then, as Sun transits into the second house, he brings the possibility of financial gains through the luck falling in your direction itself. The important point to note is that in the month of January, there will be multiple transits of planets coming into the sign of Capricorn. And most notably will be the shift of Mars, who will come into exaltation on Jan 16 into your second house itself. Mars, being the lord of your 12th house as well as your 5th house, is an auspicious and positive planet for you. He denotes spirituality, creativity, your past life punya, karma coming into play, and his shift 10 places away into exaltation is definitely indicating that with your luck being on your side, the powerful Dhan Yoga will be activated, and therefore, Sagittarius, there will be occasions of positive activities happening on the family front, from a financial gains perspective, from a food that you consume, and the quality of food that you consume should also be on a good side. However, you must remain cognizant of the fact that Mars exaltation in the second house is also bringing certain decisive actions, aggressive energies, harshness in your communication as well, which means that this could disrupt or bring in egotistical situations for you with your family members, and you must be careful on that front. The position of Mars and Sun is in your second house for most of January and then later in the month of February as well. But it is definitely indicating a gift of aggressive, successful financial action coming into play. It also shows that there will be some rise towards major or high risk investments coming into picture. And the reason is that Mars, being the lord of 12th, is going to bring in certain set of expenses, maybe towards property, movable assets like a car, or some kind of an equipment, engineering equipment where you might want to get invested towards. Property decisions are going to be crucial during this phase of time because Saturn is also stationed in your fourth itself, and both Saturn and Mars tend to showcase some sort of positive outcome with respect to the property and assets in a person's life. So, if you are planning something in that direction, the first quarter is going to give you crucial opportunity to move ahead. Then, as you move further, Sun, of course, will be moving towards your third house and later fourth house as well in the month of March, where he will be coming in conjunction with Saturn. Now, Mars will also come into that position, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But this is going to be a crucial shift, and you must understand that any of these malefic, fiery, aggressive planets moving to your fourth house will bring certain, contradictory situations with respect to your emotions, mental peace, or shift in your asset allocation, asset classes itself. As you move further, you will notice that Venus is going to be, getting exalted in the sign of Pisces in your fourth house around March 2nd. That is a major shift coming into play. Of course, the transit of Venus is through the second house, through to the third, to the fourth, but we're talking about the highlights here. And that becomes crucial because this is going to bring some sort of positive shift in terms of expansion of your wealth. And that is what I've been alluding to with multiple planets making a move here. Many of you Sagittarius could be, making up your mind, taking final decisions in terms of property purchase, asset purchase, or vehicle of your choice also coming into play. The other important bit for you to note here is that Mercury is going to be getting retrograded in your third house on 26th of February. Now, he represents your communication. He happens to be the lord of your seventh house and your 10th house. So it's an important planet which becomes retrograded in the second month itself in your third house. And therefore, your karma towards your, immediate vicinity in your neighborhood, towards your siblings, towards your formal and written communication at the workplace as well could come under scrutiny. People who are working in this field of sales, marketing, communication led jobs, negotiations, HR industry, and stuff, you must be careful during this period in terms of not doing anything without thinking twice. Maybe looking back into your paperwork, revisiting the decisions that you are making, getting an external validation in terms of inputs as well is going to be helpful for you during this phase. To make matters interesting, Jupiter, which is your Lagna Lord, is stationed in a retrograde position at the start of the year in your seventh house itself, from where he is giving an aspect towards your 11th, your Lagna, of course, and your third house. Now, Lagna Lord coming into the seventh house is not a bad situation to be in, guys. But retrogression definitely means that there is going to be some degree of delay, some level of a revisit, additional amount of efforts coming to picture that you might have to make through the course of this period. Do not be shying away from that because around March 11th is when Jupiter, which is your Lagna Lord, Rashi Lord, if you're watching from Sagittarius moon sign perspective, is going to be becoming direct. And the impact is that finally any kind of stalling of partnerships that was occurring, any kind of foreign international trips that you were planning and they were not materializing. Now is the time when Jupiter being in the seventh is going to give you the opportunity to materialize all those things. This is also going to be a good period for people to get into marriage proposals, to strengthen your partnerships, both from your spouse perspective as well as commercial, public partnerships as well, that enhance your business, your self startup, your, if you're a self employed person, those collaborations are also going to see some degree of strength coming into play during this period itself. Then you have Saturn sitting in your fourth house. This is going to be an year where throughout the course of the year, you will feel a certain degree of pressure on your home front, property front, or maybe with respect to your connection with your mother, her health, or your emotions as well. It's not going to be an easy thing to traverse because from a Sagittarius moon perspective, it's the Dhaya as well. Now, Saturn sitting here is giving an aspect towards your sixth house, towards your Lagna and your 10th house, which means your karma, your work, career, profession, your finances, and your overall health will also be under the scrutiny of Saturn, and it will demand you to put additional amount of effort in all of these areas. Then you have Rahu station in your third house in the sign of Aquarius, and it is going to be moving to its own nakshatra as well, which is crucial. And this is where I see the brilliant part of Rahu's impact. It's called as Lakshmi in Vedic astrology when Rahu is sitting in the third. So it's a very powerful situation for you guys, Sagittarius, to be in because this Rahu gives you extraordinary amount of courage. It gives you strong communication, the ability to go out and confidently express yourself like most extroverted people do. However, you must remember the retrograde aspect of Mercury that I've suggested you and keep that in mind because same Rahu could push you all the way and thereby, as I keep on saying, it gives you from one hand but takes from the other. It can bring in certain degree of commotion, confusion, mistakes that could come in because of your own language, your own speech, which could put you in a back foot during this phase itself. Then you have Ketu station in the sign of Leo in your ninth house. And there could be a definitive continuation of detachment coming in from your faith, from your belief system, and you would want to try different things. There could be a separation coming into play from your bosses, superiors, managers, fatherly figure. And therefore, this separation, this alienment would also mean you might be either thinking in your own head, in your own direction, or trying to explore something different from a career, work, profession perspective too. Remember, Ketu was in your 10th house earlier, so you've experienced that. And now that work or karma related experience of Ketu into the ninth in terms of your relationship with your fatherly figures, with your superiors, is going to be crucial. And that is why, through the course of the year, bringing in spirituality and more importantly, religion closer to your life is going to be crucial. As I said earlier, Venus is coming into exaltation on March 2nd. So that is going to bring tremendous amount of opportunities for you because he happens to be the Lord of your 11th house and your 6th. Therefore, March will also give strong chances of promotion, new job opportunities, whatever goals, objectives, targets you've set for yourself, be it with respect to new partnership, relationship, your education and stuff, there is a high chance you should be able to materialize those bits as well during the course of the March period. Last but not the least, as I said earlier, I would want you to draw the attention to the fact that once Jupiter becomes direct, wherever you felt stuck in terms of your relationship or travel plans, they shall begin to, get a green light, so to speak, and they will transpire in the right positive direction as you seek. Now, the second quarter should be defined as the period of the financial crisis, coupled with some sort of a hidden, unexpected rescue. Well, this is going to be a period where you can anticipate some unexpected ultimate reward coming into your life. You will be power driven and the power is going to be high in your life during this period. However, your Lagna Lord, your Rashi Lord is also going to be moving towards your eighth house, which brings a lot of transformation to your life. When you start this quarter in the month of April, you will notice that Sun will be transiting into your fifth house, where he will be coming into its exaltation in the sign of Aries. Now, for you guys, Sagittarius, you have to understand Sun in the fifth is a natural position for the Kalpurus chart. But for you folks, he comes in exaltation in the fifth, and that is why it is one of the most brilliant positions of Sun specifically for you in this chart. This does give a promise of growth with respect to your romances, your investment strategies that you've put into play, some sort of a positive development coming in with respect to your own education if you're a student watching this video, or for your kids and their education in that space as well. This is also going to be time where you are going to bring tremendous amounts of learning, creativity in your workplace. You have to understand April and May is the period which is showcasing high amount of power coming in your life, with Sun coming into in its exaltation in the fifth house, and later it will be coming into the sixth house as well in the month of May mid, which indicates that this is going to be the time where you will have the ability to overcome any kind of challenges, difficulties, problems, obstacles. You are going to be focusing towards your health, improving on matters related to chronic diseases that you will be able to address with your own efforts as well. Then, as you move, by the way, the presence of Sun is forming a great, Raj Yoga in itself for yourself. So you should try to materialize that to the fullest, because it is your ninth lord who's moving 9 places away from itself and coming into exaltation. So Bhavam is coming into play. Very strong Rochak Yoga from that perspective. Then you have Mars also transit into your sign of Aries on May 11th, and he will also be coming in conjunction with Sun itself. So that's another beautiful shift, because Mars, as I mentioned earlier, being the Lord of your 12th house and your fifth house, coming and stationing itself in the fifth is going to give you a tremendous opportunity to leverage your investments, multiply your investments through the right, I would not say speculative, but strategic investments. Creative ways to invest your money into the right places is going to come into picture. Venus and Mars, Sun, all of them through the course of this quarter will be transiting into your fifth and sixth house respectively. However, Venus will also transit into your seventh house into the sign of Gemini. It is important for you to note that this is going to be the period where you will face some degree of stiff competition coming to picture. However, you will be well poised in terms of overcoming that competition as well. There will be a definitive surge in your creative energies, your creative juices to tackle those problems explicitly in good strength. Then you have presence of Mars finding, forming that Rochak Yoga. Not only it makes you extremely creative, but also it brings high amount of energy, making you almost unstoppable in terms of solving these problems. All of these planets are giving an aspect, albeit a debilitated aspect from Sun towards your 11th house, but all of them will be giving an aspect towards your 11th, which means some sort of wish fulfillment and gains is definitely, getting an indication through the course of this period. Now, Saturn remains stuck in your fourth house, whilst Rahu and Ketu are in your third and ninth house, respectively. So, as we've discussed earlier, whilst all these challenges are coming into play and you are creating, craft of sorts, a creative, approach from your perspective, there would still be this, monkey on your back. You will feel bothered with the presence of Saturn in your fourth, as well as with Ketu's presence in your ninth, because he's going to continue to test your faith, your relationships. Whilst all these planets are in the fifth, Ketu's aspect is also falling into your fifth house itself. So that remains crucial aspect for you to understand. Mercury, on the other hand, is going to become retrograded in the sign of Cancer on June 29th. And now this is a critical bit which is coming into picture, because in your eighth house, when he becomes retrograded, there is a possibility that many of you could be making certain mistakes with respect to your tax related matters. Any kind of hidden, unexpected, uncomfortable situation could arise with respect to your financial situations, to insurance related matters, or inheritance laws for that matter. And I would refrain from making any key investment, any key strategy, speculative activities during this phase, because it could result into significant losses coming into picture. But this quarter is also a quarter where your Lagna Lord, Rashi Lord, Jupiter is going to be coming into its sign of exaltation, albeit in your eighth house. Now, Jupiter's presence in the eighth house is definitely indicating a sort of cosmic paradox coming into play. You all know I'm not a huge fan of planets, luminaries coming at the eighth house. Probably Jupiter is the only planet where I would be okay to survive it with its presence in the eighth. I'm myself going through one with Scorpio in the having Jupiter in the eighth right now. But you have to understand that this Ashtam Guru is also in its exaltation. And it is the lord of two benefic houses, two Kendra houses in your case, the first and the fourth. Therefore, it's a, it's triggering a very powerful Vipreet Raj Yoga in your case. One thing is for sure, with the presence of Jupiter in the eighth, with its aspect towards your 12th, second, and fourth, there is going to be some severely enormous amount of, expense coming your way. It could also mean that there will be a tremendous rise in your spiritual and emotional thought process, because it is the house of moksha. And you must keep that in mind, that spirituality, religion, donation, doing charitable activities, all of those bits are going to be especially helpful through the course of this transit. This Jupiter will continue to give an aspect, a debilitated aspect towards your second house. Therefore, there could be a decrease in your financial savings for that matter, but it will result into investments. And there is a high probability you could choose a property or asset purchase of some sorts that might result into this kind of a deviation. The other important bit I would want to remind is, throughout this course, Sun, Mars, Mercury, Venus, etc. are moving towards your fifth, sixth, and seventh, and therefore matters related to your romance, your near and dear ones, your children, your partnerships, your relationships will be on the forefront. In fact, from a career perspective as well, this is going to be a time where there will be a high degree of focus from your peers, competition, people at your workplace, looking into how you are approaching matters. Then you have to remember that the last glitch or the last bit of a challenge is coming in the month of June itself, when Jupiter is getting exalted and Mercury is coming into retrogression. Now, this is the time where I would emphasize on matters related to will writing, insurance, inheritance, where any kind of paperwork glitch could be bringing you under the scanner. So avoid any kind of shortcut measures or speculative measures as well, because your mind could be enticed towards doing something shady as well in the last month of the second quarter. Sagittarius, the third quarter as July begins is going to be a quarter where you are going to embody the blessings coming in your life, as well as there will be a tremendous amount of focus towards your mind, mental peace on the home front, so to speak. Well, with the start of the quarter, as I said, already with a shift of Jupiter in its sign of exaltation in your eighth house, is going to indicate throughout this period some sort of hidden financial blessing coming into picture. But at the same side, you have to understand that the significations of Jupiter are towards spirituality, religion, wisdom, learning. And this is going to be a period where you will have to immerse yourself in learning new subjects, new matters, new initiatives, and pivoting your life to a completely different area. Sun will be coming in conjunction with Jupiter in and around mid of August, where he will also be moving into your ninth house itself. And Sun's position by itself, any luminary by itself in the ninth house, is not one of the most, favorite situations for us to be in. But given that he's sitting with Jupiter, there will be a certain degree of knowledge and wisdom that you will find yourself coupled with at this point in time. So that is another good bit coming into picture. But you have to also remember that Sun is your ninth lord and moving 12 places away from itself. So yes, you could feel certain degree of loss in terms of your fortune or destiny. You might feel as if things are not moving at the same pace as I might aspire. But at the same time, his presence in the eighth, he is a benefic planet in your case. His presence in the eighth house is also indicating that you are going to bring light towards matter of hidden affairs, towards matters of difficulties like insurance, inheritance, etc. And there is a very strong probability that for some of you, I think around 16th, 17th, because mid of the month is when Sun does its transit. 16th, 17th of August is when it will be coming into your ninth house itself and forming that conjunction. Now, through the course of this quarter, Sun will also keep traversing into your ninth house and your 10th. So this means, as I was saying, this is a quarter of blessings. And his transit from the eighth, a difficult house, then towards its own sign, own house, And later towards your 10th is indicating a lot of positivity, because Sun being the ninth lord in the 10th, gaining directional strength, is going to give a rise in terms of positivity towards your karma and efforts as well during this course. Then you have uh, Saturn, which is again stationed in your fourth house itself in Pisces. But on July 27th, the biggest shift from a Saturn perspective is going to come into picture, where for the next 5 months, he will be in a retrograde position. Now, this is a period, it's a crucial and difficult period, guys, because this is the time where you will have to undergo the review on your home front, property related matters, asset related matters, movable, immovable property that you might have acquired. They will undergo some sort of a challenge or some sort of difficulties, problems coming in those sectors will be the highlight through the course of this 4.5, 5 month duration. Saturn here is indicating one thing is for sure, that there could be certain delays for people who've been looking forward to get loans, expedite matters of their property, because he is giving a retrograded aspect towards your third house as well. And therefore, difficulties with respect to financials around your property could come into picture. This may not be the best time for, doing any kind of speculative purchases. If the entire period is going to make you sort of question the or review the foundation of your asset purchase or property purchase in this period. So prior to this period, in the last quarter, my recommendation is, if you are jumping into any decision making, try and do that before the retrogression of any planets, and make sure you are reviewing your dasha antardasha of your natal chart as well, because that is going to be becoming a very crucial shift from the third quarter onwards, where you will have concerns related to all these matters. Saturn's retrogression is also going to denote that health concerns related to your mother could come to the fore, they might come to the light, and there could be difficulties, expenses related to that could have to be incurred by you, because Jupiter is also giving an aspect towards your 12th from its exaltation. The good part is, it may not be any fatal situation, because Jupiter's aspect is on that retrograded Saturn and on your fourth house in his own house itself. So he will try and safeguard you from difficult things as well. And it is a Viparit Rajyoga when the Lagna Lord or the fourth Lord, Kendra Lord, is sitting in exaltation in the eighth. So after facing those difficulties, those challenges, after reviewing and introspecting the problems that you've gone through, it could be simply a lack of peace of your mind that could come into play. After you've faced those difficulties, this Jupiter will be giving you a promise of successful bounce back as well. But you must anticipate pressure coming on your home front and continuous stress on your work related things too, because Saturn will be giving a retrograded aspect towards your 10th house. He's the lord of your second and third. There could be a lack of motivation in terms of karma, in terms of effort, in terms of courage that could come into picture through the course of this period. And you will have to reignite that energy, that passion within you, to make sure that you continue to put together the fight that is required to traverse through these difficulties. He will be giving a retrograded aspect towards your lagna, towards your first house as well. So expenses are related to your siblings, your family, any kind of savings that you've made, some sort of loss or delay or introspection will be required through the course of this period. The second bit that you have to keep in mind is that Venus will be transiting into the 10th house, which is your sign of Virgo, 12th to itself, where he becomes debilitated. And this is going to bring the second degree of challenge at this point in time itself, where he would also be getting a retrograded aspect from Saturn. So, yes, you will have to bring a certain degree of empathy, certain degree of calmness, politeness, whilst dealing with people in and around you. No matter what walk of life you come from, if you are involved in your own business, self funded startup, self employed, working in a job, being a homemaker, in education, you will realize that there will be unexpected, unanticipated issues. And this debilitation is going to make you feel as if you are not getting enough recognition. There is a certain degree of dissatisfaction that could also creep in. Your authorities, the authorities at your workplace may not provide you enough support, or you might feel unappreciated through the course of time. But this is a temporary crisis which is coming into picture. Remember, the movement of sun in your chart during the same phase is much more positive. So there is a positive ray of light as well. But each planet is going to bring in certain different triggers. Venus, being the lord of your 11th, will essentially give you an idea that the returns, the outcome, the ROI that you anticipated is not enough. At the same time, he is the lord of your 6th house and in debilitation in the 10th. So it is good for career in a way, but again, as I said, the outcome could be muted for that matter. This might be much better for people who are going through any kind of chronic problems, sugar, diabetes, those kind of issues, skin related issues. You will find yourself overcoming or at least fighting those problems. However, the fight required or the effort required from your side may be much higher. Then, through the course of this quarter itself, you will see the final test around September 18th, when Mars will also be coming into its sign of debilitation again in your 8th house. Now, Mars is again a positive planet for you. He's the lord of your 5th house, and him moving into the 8th, albeit he's getting a niche fanga, is crucial. Now, guys, you have to understand people are going to paint this niche fanga as if everything is going to be dramatically great. Yes, there is a very strong possibility of some positive shift coming into picture, especially from a financial perspective. However, this Mars is forming a Viparit Rajuga, being the lord of your 12th into the 8th house. So there is definitely some sort of challenges that could come into picture with respect to your relationship with your father, with your guru, your mentor, your boss, your superiors. There could be a certain degree of crisis of faith as well, which can come into picture. After all, your 12th lord is sitting in your 8th house and sitting with the guru itself. But there will be positives because cancellation, a proper cancellation of this niche fungi is coming into picture with Jupiter's exaltation in the same place. He, being the lord of your 5th house in the 8th, will bring sudden, unexpected speculative gains possibility to two. Now, I'm not recommending here that people get into, options trading or get into derivatives market, or you jump into commodities or gambling for that matter, because many of you do keep asking questions around those areas as well. I'm not a huge proponent of any of those areas. However, unexpected speculative gains are a probability. There could be some level of satisfaction that could come after initial level of difficulties with respect to your matters of romance, children, or education as well. With respect to education specifically, I would want to call out, this is going to be a period where you will receive a certain setback, some kind of a disappointment. But do not worry about it, because that disappointment will ultimately lead into some positive outcome resulting with respect to your gains. It could result into post graduation selection in a new college, movement or shift that will come into picture when we discuss the next quarter, which is the last quarter of the year. The last quarter of the year, starting from October, should be defined as the victory lap. The reason I say this is that this is going to be the period which is going to bring in some ultimate positive transitions coming into picture for you. First and foremost, Sun is going to be moving into your 11th house in the sign of Libra. Now, guys, one might think that Sun's debilitation is a negative bit coming into picture because your ninth lord is moving 3 places away and coming into debilitation. So, yes, it may result into diminished returns coming to picture, but you have to also understand that Venus is going to be coming into your sign of Libra in the 11th house itself. Now, Venus is going to make one key shift here. He is going to be becoming retrograded on October 3rd when he is moving into Libra, and this is crucial. One, because it is bringing in niche bhanga for Sun as well in the 11th house. But at the same time, this is going to be the period where you will be looking back and reflecting on your matters related to career and your gains. Or rather, I should say, with respect to your 6th house issues. So you will look back and check as to what was your karma, how you went about dealing with your enemies, with the obstacles and the challenges that you faced, the financial decisions that you have taken through the course of this while, and you are going to fine tune during the 40-day duration of this retrograde period as to what should be your approach moving forward. However, this 40-day period is not completely bad in your case because you are getting the support of your luck, fortune, destiny with a debilitated Sun that is getting Nij Bhanga in this house itself. This also forms good yoga of some sort of reputation growth, some sort of an acknowledgement expansion in your networking circles as well. But Venus's retrogression will also remind you that not all connections, not all collaborations are that positive as one may anticipate. So you may have to be very careful in reviewing your friend circle as well and the importance that they hold in your life. It is a time where you must confront the debts, the credit card expenses that you've made in terms of going over and above for your purchases, for your luxury. So it's going to be a crucial time where you will have to take certain corrective actions on that front. This will also be a time from an 11th house perspective where you might embark upon some course correcting action of your income streams, of your gains. It could be through social media or any kind of side hustle, additional hustle that you are running to find that income. But do not trust any kind of financial advice coming in from any quarter. You must lean on your own personal judgment at this point in time because sun is eventually debilitated. Your own decision making will be far superior than anybody else, and Jupiter is in still decent dignity for you guys because he will be in exaltation through the course of this quarter as well as moving into ninth, and we will talk about that in a bit. Then the other bit that comes into picture here is that Mercury will also be coming into your sign of Libra itself, and he would also, be moving in a retrograde motion. In fact, Mercury is getting retrograded 3 times through the course of this year, guys, which I've been highlighting in the sign of Aquarius, then in Cancer, and now in the sign of Libra. And therefore, decision making with respect to your connections, with respect to your partnerships, in your relationships, communication as to how you are giving that feedback to your partner remains crucial. Through the course of October till November, Venus is retrograded there, and then Mercury is also coming and sitting in the same house for a brief period of time in retrograde, in conjunction with Venus as well. So you will have to keep a watch on your words, on your communication at this point in time. Good part is around November 13th is where Mercury becomes direct, and November 14th is when Venus becomes direct. Both of them placed in the sign of Libra itself. And therefore, all your karma, all your career related issues, your loans, litigations, your relationships, by the end of November and December, by the end of this quarter and by the end of this year, you are going to see that there is going to be an absolute amount of clarity coming in your life. There will be a new synthesis that you will be able to present for yourself, and you will be taking the right measures across these connections, these factors of life. Then you have Mars, which also transits through Libra, Scorpio, and then later Sagittarius through the course of this quarter. His movement in your 11th, 12th, and Lagna is not a bad movement because Mars coming into the 11th house is promising good amount of stupendous gains. And in fact, most of the planets are making transits towards the house of your gains through the course of this period, which is a positive indication. You you will, however, be excited about the most crucial shift of Jupiter, your Lagna Lord, your fourth Lord, which happens on 31st of October, where Jupiter leaves your eighth house and now enters your ninth house into the sign of Leo. This is a good shift coming into picture and promising that all the retrogression of Venus or Mercury or the shift of Sun into its debilitation or the movement of Mars towards the 12th as well is decently handled by Jupiter because he is the natural owner of the ninth house. He is coming into the friendly sign of Leo and is promising that your luck, your wisdom, your faith, self belief is going to be restored at this point in time. You are now going to find that there is going to be an expansion of collaboration with your elders, with your colleagues, with your superiors, bosses. Their benediction, their support is bound to come in your life because Jupiter is also giving an aspect towards your Lagna, your fifth house, and your third. And you will not be shying away from taking any measures, any efforts that is required to make things happen. So that's a extraordinary push coming into picture from 31st of October, applicable from the start of November itself. The next part of this reset, the next part of this shift will be reflected when Rahu and Ketu make the most crucial transit. Rahu is going to be moving in towards, your second house, whilst Ketu will be moving towards your eighth. And see, Rahu's movement towards the second is definitely going to bring an obscene, obsessive amount of focus, massive focus towards your family, towards growing your wealth, towards your savings, all the expenses, losses, or the investments that you've made. You are going to try and consolidate them. You are going to consolidate your assets, bring them under one hood, and make sure that you are navigating that or structuring them in the right fashion for yourself. So money is going to become an important criterion, but it will also bring the risk of argumentative situations at times with your family members. The crucial bit is this Rahu is going to make you street smart. You would have learned from your mistakes with a shift of Venus, with a shift of Mercury. You would have now have had important lessons, and you for the next 1.5 years, whilst Rahu is going to be stationed here, his aspect is towards your 10th house, ninth aspect towards your 10th house. So you will be navigating your karma, your work, your career, your profession, your competitive life, addressing matters in a much more strategic fashion now. Street smartness will be part and parcel of the game for you folks. Then the other bit that comes into picture is that you will have the shift of Ketu in your 8th house, and therefore some degree of spiritual intuition, interest towards the occult is definitely going to be a part and parcel of the game. This Ketu is coming into the sign of Cancer. He's forming sort of a Viparit Rajyoga, being the co-lord of the Scorpio sign as well. And his presence in the eighth is going to safeguard you from losses as long as you don't care about matters. It could also result in some sort of distancing you of yourself from your in-laws, or distancing yourself from the uh, uh, financial collaboration that you have with your partners. You will focus towards the karma, towards collaboration more than the financial aspects of it. And it is not at all a bad thing to happen. In fact, bringing an upliftment towards your spiritual goals, towards your spiritual alignment is going to be a crucial remedy as well of sorts in this case. Now, Jupiter will become conjunct with this Ketu later point in time in 2027, but that is out of the scope of discussion for this video because Jupiter is going to remain stationed in the sign of Leo in your ninth house through the course of December. Then, last but not the least, the most important shift is coming into picture where December 11th, Saturn becomes direct. However, Jupiter becomes retrograded on December 13th in the sign of Leo. But Saturn being direct is a crucial bit, as now you will have a lot of clarity from your emotional bent of mind, from your assets perspective, from your property perspective, as to what were the decisions that went wrong or right. You would have taken corrective measures around those areas as well. And this is the time where you will bounce back with a lot of sanity, a lot of clarity of mind as to how you should be navigating your life, your investments further. Jupiter's retrogression is happening in the ninth house, and this retrogression is positive for you because it is retrograded towards its sign of exaltation. So, whilst he remains in your ninth house itself, he is going to bring a lot of wisdom, a lot of clarity of thoughts. In fact, it is going to financially empower you along with spiritual or religious growth as well. Now, some of you keep asking me that, Dave, what are the kind of remedies that we can do during the course of this period? I just wanted to call out that you being ruled by Jupiter, doing Vishnu Sahasranam is absolutely a great remedy through the course of the year. I am not a huge proponent of remedies because I try to see this from a lens of understanding the blueprint, traversing those problems cleverly and smartly like an educated person should. But I do have a spiritual bent of mind, and that is where I believe that, doing Vishnu Sahasranam, given that Jupiter is coming into your seventh, eighth, and ninth, is going to be a crucial bit. Supporting people, older people, especially homeless people, elderly in your family through the course of the year. I mean, these are naturally good things to do, right? But especially when Saturn is in its retrogression, and given that if you are watching this from a Sagittarius moon standpoint, conduction is definitely a difficult thing to handle. So, doing anything of that sort, making any donations and charitable activities towards spiritual places or towards homeless people, elderly homeless people, is going to be of great help. I hope, folks, this has given you a lot of clarity as to how you can go ahead and navigate the year 2026. There is an enough amount of effort and time that goes into creating these videos. If you feel I've done a good enough job, I request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dave Astrology. Please put in your comments. Tell me where I can do better. and I look forward for your support. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev.